Okay, we are live. Okay, welcome everyone to The View from Here, Lesbian Poets Over 60. We are so excited to welcome them all to OutWrite 2022 and hear their incredible work. My name is Marlena Chertok. I am one of the co-chairs of OutWrite. I am just here to share a brief sponsor message and then get out of the way and let them take the stage. So let me do that briefly. Bear with me as I share my screen.
My name is Paul Ramos. I'm a MA, Medical Assistant PCS2, and I've been in the company for 5 years. I choose to work in AHF to carry the heart and soul for my dad, my late dad. He was diagnosed with HIV and AIDS. Every time I see a patient, I know that he's looking over me and he knows that I did it for him.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Zoraida Jiménez y soy la manager de práctica de la oficina de Falls Church in Virginia. So what has surprised me more about the company culture is my immediate manager taking her time to really train me one-on-one, making sure that I understand and I do the job that I need to do to succeed in my role.
Hi, my name is Simply Sandy. I'm a non-medical case manager here at the K Street location. I chose to work at AHF because it is a phenomenal company. The company allowed me to spread my wings, if you will. They allowed me to continue doing what I love to do, and that's serving the public. I feel as though we are a family, and I could not do what I do by myself.
My name is Dominique Demaro. I'm the office administrator for the Temple Hills AHF location. I choose to work for AHF because I like to give back to my community. My favorite thing about working with AHF is how much the organization gives to the community, how they help our patients, help them grow, the tools that they give them that our patients can't find at any other clinic.
The thing that surprised me about working for AHF, which I enjoyed, the teamwork, the employees, it's a really great work environment. You look forward to actually getting up and coming to work. AHF is one of those companies that I will say that really looks out and really cares about their employees.
My name is Sade. I'm a technician here in Baltimore, and I work with AHF because I really enjoy taking care of my patients, and I like their mission statement of being patient first, of putting patient care over profit, and getting our co-pays as close to zero as possible. I love that part.
The average baseball stadium holds about 50,000 people, enough to fill a dance floor the size of a New York City block. It was also the number of people in the US who became HIV positive every year since 2003. Then, something happened. One by one, we said, enough is enough. Instead of waiting for a cure, we took action. We got tested and retested. We talked to each other, and we talked to healthcare providers about HIV prevention options. People living with HIV started treatment right away and stuck to it, which can prevent the spread of HIV through sex. New infections went down, but we still have work to do. So let's all do our part and keep fighting, because together we can all help stop the virus. Find out what you can do at helpstopthevirus.com.
All right, and without further ado, please welcome our readers from The View is Here.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ronna Magy. Let me thank Marlena and Malik and all the volunteers and our terrific interpreters for inviting our group to be part of OutWrite 2022, this wonderfully engaging literary festival. You have done such great work. I'm delighted to welcome everyone from across the country to our reading, The View from Here, Lesbian poets over 60 read their work. We are not what you think. We are thoughtful and wild, reflective and raunchy, wise and wise-ass. We're published lesbian poets from Los Angeles, sharing work forged on our journeys across decades. We're crones and feminists, fighters and spoken wordsmiths, filmmakers and artists. Think Bourbon, not tea and cookies. We are Jennifer Abod, Bonnilee Kaufman, Dorothy Randall Gray, Carla Sameth, and Ronna Magy. For your listening pleasure, today's reading is divided into two. You'll hear each poet read twice during the hour. To our audience, we welcome you to introduce yourselves in the chat, and we welcome your comments and questions and hope to respond at the end of the reading, time permitting. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our first reader, the very talented Dr. Jennifer Abod. Dr. Abod, who proudly proclaims herself a dyke, is an award-winning documentary filmmaker. Her films include The Passionate Pursuits of Angela Bowen, The Edge of Each Other's Battles, The Vision of Audre Lorde, Nice Chinese Girls Don't, featuring Kitty Sway, and Look Us in the Eye, The Old Woman's Project. Abod's poetry appears in Sinister Wisdom and One Art. She is currently preparing her first poetry manuscript, and last year she hosted the first virtual poetry reading by lesbian widows. Here's Jennifer.
Thank you. The first poem today is Pleasure. Old lesbians, unique in bearing and gait, laugh freely, mourn deeply, linger in hugs of braless breasts, soft, low hung like mine. The following poems were inspired by my 37-year relationship with Dr. Angela Bowen. Her painting is back there. A beautiful, wise, no bullshit pioneer, dancer, teacher, activist, professor, and the first Audre Lorde scholar. Dish Envy, New Haven, Connecticut, 1979. I hate washing dishes, but for her, it's meditation, where she choreographs, imagines her next moves. That first summer, I lean into her kitchen doorway, the Victorian house where she mothers 2 young children, raised 2 others rescued from abuse, mourned her firstborn son, Kippy, killed at 3 by a drunk driver. I can't believe she's let me in. Water trickles into the double porcelain sink. Pink calico curtains flutter in the breeze. I admire her dancer's back, shapely legs, sandaled feet, bare brown arms, butter yellow linen shirt. Standing in her doorway as her hands caress each plate, I can't believe how jealous I am of every soapy dish. Ash Wednesday, 2015. Sitting our favorite bench outside St. Anthony's Church, Angela's brown hands and pearly-tipped polish matched the marble-topped wooden cane. Handymen and caregivers hurry the sidewalk. Children skip, hold a parent or grandparent's hand, climb stone steps under a sunlit turquoise arch, large fresco murals of apostles, a benevolent Mary, and a golden Jesus. I stand, place my hands on her shoulders, lose myself in her full kiss. Time slows. On the corner, vendors arrange tamales, corn on sticks, dried yellow fritters in plastic bags. Suddenly, sidewalks busy. Smudgy crosses fill little children's foreheads. Everyone has them. I smile. She asks, "Why are you smiling?" I say, "I just kissed you on Ash Wednesday in front of St. Anthony's Church." Walking home, we navigate the sidewalk, the aroma of roasting corn in the air. This is my last poem for this round. It's called Rethinking Pink. I hated pink. It surrounded me, in my mother's Chicago kitchen. Bubblegum pink tile walls, cafe curtains, countertops, the dial-up wall phone. Pink is what I ran away from, who I was supposed to be. In my kitchen, I fold a muted pink bath towel. Remember how it complemented Angela's bare brown shoulders, her root beer barrel eyes. Why, one frayed pink cotton turtleneck hangs in my closet. 2 pink flowered lotion bottles sit on my bathroom shelf. Our next reader is Bonnilee Kaufman, a dear friend who describes herself as an aging femme. She is. Bonnilee is grateful for every opportunity to read her work and proclaim her queer, dyke, lesbian self loud and proud, especially in this current political climate. As of today, August 6th, she is 6 days newly retired. Her poetry has appeared in or is forthcoming in several anthologies and literary journals. Bonnilee.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. I'm going to start off real light and breezy. This first piece is called Feeling Peckish. We used to be doing it nonstop. Every motel up and down Cerrillos Road. Room phone frantic, urging us out. We ignored clocks and convention, ignored roller carts bumped up against the door, fresh towels, room spray. We were shameless, writhing round each other, couldn't wait, clothes on, pushed up, bunched to the side, long black skirt draped her face, my face, her worn jeans, our shoes knocked like locomotive engines ramming till steam expelled. Life used to be hungry like that. This next piece is titled Fagala. Fagala is Yiddish for little bird. It is also slang for faggot. Such a skillful seamstress. My grandma turns her nose up, examining sloppy seams of a store-bought dress. Calls me Fagala, little bird. I sit close to her softness, read from a little golden book, one of my favorites. She memorizes words, pretends she can read. We are a family of little people, even the men short. We converse in English with Yiddish trim, strolling urban streets, maybe Brooklyn, maybe downtown New York. Probably it's a Sabbath, and we are in our finery. Black patent Mary Janes, glossy with Vaseline, reflects the day. But what catches our eye is the little boy across the street. He's playing with a doll, rocking it against his shoulder, placing the doll inside a deeply hooded royal blue baby carriage, then lifting the doll back out again, his movements curious, riveting. We are all very still, my whole family of little people staring, this boy across the street. My father hisses. That's a Fagala. I'd like to think maybe my Uncle Abe is with us and he's the one who says it. Either way, it is a judgment uttered amongst us. There is derision in the air, scratchy as the crinoline underneath my flowered skirt. I sense our connection, the stirring of different. This boy, the fagula, the way ugly informs, abandoning the both of us. Two beautiful birds. Thank you. And now it is my pleasure to introduce one of my mentors, Dorothy Randall Gray, best-selling author, award-winning artist, former LA poet in residence. Dorothy taught writing for the LA County Museum of Art, the International Women's Writing Guild, and several other organizations. Her workshops serve thousands of writers, beginning and seasoned, incarcerated populations, at-risk youth, and post-grad students. Dorothy shared the dais with the Dalai Lama, performed spoken word in Iceland, and danced with James Baldwin in New York City. Her writing and art continue to inspire each other. She believes in transforming the world, one word at a time. Dorothy.
Thank you. Thank you, Bonnilee. Thank you. I would like to share two poems with you in this half. And the first one is part of a series that I am working on. And the series is inspired by what I feel is the need for some new Black goddesses. Since we know that God is a woman, I know that she needs help in these troubling times. So this first one is Wabi Sabia, Goddess of the Broken. And it's inspired by Wabi Sabi, that concept of things that are broken and mended with gold become that much more precious. So let me begin to read, and I'm hoping that I am on a speaker view. Okay. Wabi Sabia. Broken codes defining the times, broken road lines dividing directions, broken English on immigrant tongues, broken toys they promised to fix, broken promises, broken icebergs raising the sea, breaking into a store, breaking into a sacred tomb, breaking the law vaults, broken treaty, sign of war, broken engagement, broken heart, breaking into tears, the woman, the car, the talks, the system, all broke down. My next poem for this half is called Never. That's Nevver. Alone, I may seem to have no power, no direction of my own, no sense or scent of purpose or reason for being. Yet you say my name when it suits you, and I seem to fit. I may marry a chain of words and become mighty, a force to be recognized and reckoned with. I may become never again. Never leave me, never let me go. Never do that again. Never forget, never enough, never appreciated, never understood, never sure, never felt like this before, never meant to hurt you, never knew, never alone, never Neverland, never want to see you again. Never saw anything like that. Never knew love like this before, never thought you would do this to me. Never thought I would say this to you. You may say my name and I become a slogan, a command. I can dress in knives and consequences. I can slice hope thin, slam doors, draw blood, invite surrender. I can become the answer you don't want to hear. When you're coming back? Never. Now it is my pleasure to introduce our next reader and read her bio. This is Carla Sameth. She is the co-poet laureate for Altadena, California from 2022 to 2024. Her chapbook, What Is Left, was published December 2021, and her memoir, One Day on the Gold Line, will be reissued by Golden Foothills Press in 2022. Her writing on blended, queer, multiracial, and single-parent families appears in a variety of literary journals and anthologies. Carla's work has been twice named as Notable Essays of the Year in Best American Essays, a Pasadena Rose poet, a West Hollywood Pride poet, and a former Penn teaching artist. Carla teaches creative writing to high school and university students and incarcerated youth. Carla Sameth.
Hello. So glad to be here today. And it's wonderful listening to my fellow poets' poetry. I have a couple notes. I'm reading one poem and it may reference me at a younger age, but I am indeed a lesbian poet over 60. I tell people I'm an 18-year-old butch, a boy trapped in my 58-year-old body, or a 20-something sober young man, like my son's friends in recovery, who gather around him on his 21st birthday. Then I too can say things like cool as fuck, or even be that. One of my son's young friends, a girl, says, "Oh, look, your mom, she's such a mom, so cool, so beautiful," tells me I've wanted to meet you. And I want you for a daughter-in-law, I think, though she is just a friend who loves my son as many do. A young couple arrives with their baby, who I greedily borrow. Look how the baby looks at your mother. I wanted so many more. So sure of that thing, wanting to be a mother. Only one precious one lived, 1 out of 8 pregnancies. But the view changes. And I can't quantify my unstoppable gratitude for my son until I die or perhaps lose my mind. Does my mom still feel gratitude? We think we see joy slowly lighten her face when she recognizes one of us, her children, grandchildren, caregivers, a lone piece left of her. Sometimes her smile matches ours, like a gurgling baby grin mirrors a delighted audience. Yesterday, I noticed she still gulps her coffee the same way. She who talked and mothered so much more than we cared to listen. Today, she stares blankly, offering a surprise sentence. Yes, it does. Or, that man certainly is repulsive about that buffoonish, dangerous bully who's now the president. Years before, when she could talk, she pointed to Senator Obama. See that man? Someday he'll be president. But then the view changed. Someday I may see some of what my mom sees in her twilight years, fairies coming to rescue her, or bad boys, abusive men that lurk in the dark, who she thought she married after our father died. Television movie characters, Booth from Bones, Mr. Darcy. Perhaps my delusions will also be purely my own. Or will I worry myself to my grave like my dad, even though Parkinson's hammered the nail? Today, the sky beams pink, gracious clouds. The sun rises outside my kitchen window. I'm not usually up this early. Sweet surprise, the view after the storm that blasted through our old scoundrel, this city of angels. Even as I age, I can see the view change. Me in my own body, loving my life as it is, embracing my South African wife, whom my son calls a badass. Perhaps I'll plant one more tattoo on my 58-year-old vessel, but not on the breast, since it will soon meet my stomach. the view changes. Thank you very much. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Ronna Magy. Ronna Magy is delighted to be the organizer of today's reading. While hailing from Detroit, Michigan, after many decades of beach, sun, and palm trees, she claims roots in Southern California. To her poetry, Ronna brings the life experience of an ESL teacher and textbook writer, community organizer, and switchboard operator. Her writing has appeared or is forthcoming in the Crone Lit Anthology, Writing in a Woman's Voice, Writers Resist, Sinister Wisdom, Nasty Woman Poets, and Persimmon Tree. Welcome, Ronna.
Thank you, Carla. I'm thrilled to be reading at OutWrite again. The last time I read at OutWrite was in person in Washington in 2012. This first poem I'm going to read is about something we've all gone through, loss. In breaking up, there were things to give back. The way her Chanel perfumed my gold corduroy shirt, soft wail caressing her shoulders in bed. How when she draped it beneath dark Russian hair, I savored her more than the deepest glass of Syrah. Her accented words joining our ancestral worlds. How a glass of tea, cube of sugar kissed between lips, and the twist of her naked hips took me home. In this next poem, you'll hear me musing on politics and aging. Breaking it down. At the cafe last week, a friend and I talked of societal decay, how people are exhausted from the plague, January 6th, and the war, how democracy diminishes. Some don't care anymore about fascism, white nationalists, which ideas hold sway. Somehow the topic of aging came up. What happens to our bodies as they get old? How skin thins over time. Epidermis losing collagen, wasting away, pressing layers of years against time. How we attempt to hold on to life as we age, while some let democracy slip through their hands. This country, cosmetics over cracks in its skin, denies the homeless, immigrants, refugees, and the poor, imprisons the unwanted, moves toward nuclear war. Summer's heat rising from urban pores, layers of pavement plied over heating uplands, tented cities littering ground. That brick chimney on the side of my centuried house will at some point fall, unleashing asbestos painted in layers of dust, and the dust become friable, floating urban putrefied air, like thinning layers of democracy's skin as it begins to break down. Those are my poems for this part, and now I would love to introduce Jennifer Abod. There we go. I'm unmuted now. I did it already. Okay. These are wonderful poems. I haven't heard some of them before, and it's exciting. This is called Dream One. Thank you, Blashanda. I love watching your hands while I'm reading this. Dream One. Angela's dressed up. She's working at a table, shuffling papers, her back to me. Over her left shoulder tells me she's preparing a presentation. Asks if I would drive her someplace. Tells me to smoke a joint. I yell, "What do you mean? You've been dead a year and a half and you want me to drive you someplace and smoke a joint?" For what feels like a long time, I watch her busyness, bereaved. Smoke a joint? Not such a bad idea.
Boat trip to Ballast Point. I wear buttons on my hat, a silent wave, a silent protest. Homophobia is a social disease. Fight racism. I'm the perfect age. My body, my decision. On the Aqualink, I hold my hat against ocean wind. Over 20 of us, she's, hers, hims, and theys, walk, cane, and wheel over the wooden bridge across the asphalt parking lot toward this restaurant. A willowy waitress looks a little bit overwhelmed. Maybe it's so many of us blue, pink, white, gray, purple-haired dykes and queers. I asked for a decaf. Apologetically, an iced decaf. Apologetically, she says, we don't have iced decaf, but I can make a decaf and bring it with ice. Would that be okay? Great, I say. Friends and strangers, sufficiently fed, clink glasses, pose for pictures. The waitress returns. Want another decaf, she asks. Yes, I say, and flash her a smile. My wallet ready. She waves my bills away. Want a paper cup for the trip back, she asks. How thoughtful, I say. Then she says, I love your hat. I love you. At the bow of the boat, I prop my boots on gray metal rails, relax my always anxious body in the rumble of the engine, powering us to shore. Last poem for me. Stone Age, Laguna Beach, 2021. On my walk, I pick up one stone different from the rest. Cup it in my hand. It's cool, comfortable. The top smooth and round, bluish gray like a Civil War uniform, oblong like a teardrop. In feathery white lines, two pointy eyes appear. At center, three pocked holes, a nose. In a thick white slash below, an evil grin sneers. A skeleton's head. I study my 75-year-old hand that holds the stone. Skin lines crease each finger, deepen into ruts in the pink of my palm. Mountain ridges ripple the stem of my thumb. A bracelet of wrinkles circles my wrist. I've been thinking about how I live, how to let more joy in, wondering what that'll take. I slip the stone into my pocket to remind me. Thank you.
And now our next reader is Bonnilee Kaufman.
Thank you, Ronna. That was good. Okay, so this final piece of mine is actually has been recently accepted for publication in the spring. It's dedicated to the queer icon Quentin Crisp, to his flamboyant pride, his hats and scarves, and the way he held court, even as he grew old and frail. I've titled the piece Of Icons and Other Things. And everybody hears me, yes? Okay, good. 1, I try to believe anything can be stored forever in sealed containers. Lavender oil safe. So what if that's an illusion? My style of meditation, one-dimensional, ignores what I can't see, the rounded back, poor posture, worsening. 2, sometimes I breathe breath enough as if there were 2 of us. Watch windows grow steamy, such devotion the way green moss hugs a rock. I am lured by the surface of things, but honestly, there is no point having a piano if your fingers ache 3. What is the point of reminiscing about the time milk bottles delivered at dawn, gathered from stoops, not a drop wasted, rinse and return? Then plastic bloomed, took over landscapes, wild and pernicious. There are people like that scare me. Those glitzy, gym-toned high lifers, I've experienced none. Everybody brushes past me, one of those aging queers drenched in mentholated muscle spasms like something wished for. Patches of pink scalp keep widening, unsightly, as the moth-eaten olive green poncho slips off in public without her to lean against. I am not sure what happened, but every time I open the fridge, something stinks. 4. I want to transform. I want to become a mini icon, a Quintina Crispa. Expand my circle, publish, orate, and begin to love again. So sick of peanut butter, jelly, and going to bed sticky. Thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed. And now it is my pleasure yet again, Dorothy Randall Gray.
Thank you, Bonnilee. And thank you, Ronna, for organizing such an incredible program. Thank you. I have 2 pieces to share with you. The first one is, I do speak English. I do speak English, but sometimes you feel so foreign to me. I squint my ears to try and hear everything you're not saying. How do I dictionary myself, make sense of your syllables, translate who I am, extricate the definition of me without you? I do speak English in my own fluent, but often not knowing which words stop mid-flight and which ones land on your understanding. You are illiterate in your love for me. My tongue trips over itself for you. You are the past pluperfect, the tension in future tense, the unfinished sentence, the dangling participle. I do speak English. Now you learn to speak me. And my second piece is, I'm a New Yorker, no matter where I happen to live, like LA, I'm a New Yorker. This is called Half Naked in the Bronx. So there I was, standing on the corner of New York City's Grand Concourse, wearing a see-through baby doll pajama top and no underwear. 8 lanes of traffic whizzed by. Just minutes ago, I had stepped into the hallway and dropped garbage down the incinerator. As I closed the chute, I heard the door slam and lock behind me. Now what? I asked. I had been cat sitting in the Bronx and knew none of my neighbors. I knocked on the super's door. No answer. I heard the cat calling me. If only he could reach the knob. Then I remembered my friend Renee on the other side of the Grand Concourse. I could wait there until a spare key showed up, but she was 6 blocks and 8 lanes away, and I was half naked. My body had long since lost its battle with gravity. Everything that had pointed straight ahead now pointed toward the ground. How could I cover up 4 body parts with only 2 hands? I made a decision. I took a deep breath and sucked in both stomachs. I told myself, I am wearing clothing. Then I threw open the thick glass door to the apartment building and stepped out into the afternoon sun. With my feet bare and my head held high, I started walking. Two little old ladies on lawn chairs suddenly stopped gossiping. I nodded as I strolled by, their mouths dropped open. A mother grabbed her child, put her hand over his eyes, scowled at me, and hurried to the other side of the street. Cars on the Grand Concourse honked and tried to slow down. Passengers did double takes, shrieks and whistles and were everywhere. I waited forever for the light to change. I acted as if I had no idea what everyone was staring at. It could have been worse, I thought. It could have been winter. The light changed just as I got halfway across. Now I had to wait in the middle of the uptown and downtown traffic. I prayed Renee would be home. I breathed a sigh of relief when I knocked and heard her footsteps coming to the door. And as she opened it, I said, "Hi, Renee. I just came over to borrow a cup of sugar." Thank you. Now it is my pleasure to once again introduce Carla Sameth. Carla, you're on.
Thank you, Dorothy. That was wonderful. And thank you so much to the people at OutWrite DC and to Ronna for organizing this panel. My first poem is, I am a woman of almost 62 years old. I am a woman of almost 62 years old, of no special bravery. Every day I wake up to my wife, clutching me tightly, then singing loudly, and the cat, once a teen mama, pounding on the door. Last night's gunshots not yet forgotten. Turn up the sound, I say, that song about waking up and working hard each day. Though I am a woman inert until I decide to throw off all the weighted memories, falling down interiors, the magic elastic that holds my unkind body tight to my imagination, until I step out and blow kisses to the hummingbird, frantic, ecstatic, or just doing its job, circling the bird of paradise. 2 years older than I was when my son, friends, and family threw that party for me, the trio playing songs I'd once danced to, Baby and Sling, Ojos Negros, Piel Canela, La Carne, La Aguas, Las Flores, Pastel de las Tres Leches. My friend Gary showed up, only to jump from a parking structure weeks later. He'd told me it's been a rough year, and I agreed, it's been a year. And he said, we'll talk, but we never did, not really. He only called me to tell me how proud he was of me, my son, all we've done. And damn him, he didn't wait for that conversation about the obliterating fog, the deep downward slide, the gray as if he were another Seattle child, or whatever said to him, jump, Gary, jump. I am a woman almost 62 who once had moxie, chopped wood, built trails, leaped in front of skinheads who threatened me and my two sisters, a tiny speck lost in a corner, wondering if I'll rise up and blow out to the sky when we finally can open the doors. 62, but still the nail that may not bend, the mango sweet and spicy, chile y limon that bring your mouth alive, the lips that remember the softest kisses billowing across continents, only to discover they were once here right beside me. The skater leaping, flying, shimmying a fountain of joy, and since I'm not gliding, my son is, sliding through Venice Beach and home again to me. I am the arms that held him, milky, sweet sweat, then opened up skyward to the honeyed moon and bright, bright stars. My last poem was written partway through the year. A year ago, my wife became my husband, and this poem was written a little bit earlier in his transition. Your eyes are sea color, but do you remember? The walls of that grotto were every color blue, and you said, look, your eyes are sea color, and Sexton, the nude swim. Your eyes are thirsty capsules, as if onyx could be blue, smooth amalgam. Our riffs cannot last long, the ubiquitous. You don't listen, you're shut down. You're too emotional, too loud, calm down. I feel these days as if I trespass, your territory so unknown. Do you see me as vapid? wishing only to manifest the breasts now gone. I look to the sky, the clearest blue street, white, snow spotted. If I could knit, I would answer my questions by making you a cap. Instead, I write this poem. Think of crisp green apples and the time I saw you standing in California Plaza. Too young, I thought, but cute, very pretty. I used to love to hold you, one breast cupped in my hand. Now I hold you, arms careful not to touch that place of removed flesh. Is it enough to say I love you, I'd never leave you? Am I a killjoy if I complain of missing you as woman? Tough, mannish, but sometimes you cried like a broken rag doll. Now you brush me and my tears away as if I am a mosquito or pesky fly. Thank you. And now it's my great pleasure to welcome back Ronna Magy.
Thank you, Carla. We've all lived through the past 2 years, disengaged. During the early months of COVID, there were days when I questioned whether I could live in this body again. Days when I'd take my neighborhood walk, full knowing I would see the red blood bougainvillea climbing corners fence, its prickers sticking up from the vine, and wondered if I bled, if anyone would see or care. I felt that alone. Days when pausing at the Zen garden house, black stone circle laid out in the yard, I wondered if pandemic cycle would ever end. No clock hands seeming to separate time, prolonged morning fading to night, then morning again, time unending in that way. And there was that haze that overlaid my mind. No matter how many times my feet took those same steps, how when someone came near, I'd move away, as if I had taken a step away from my path, was walking in the road, and at the same time gazing onto the walk, as if my journey was beyond the pale of time. Yellow yarrow stretching onto the path, Madeira plant crowding me into the street, and I became lost, weaving my way through a maze. This last poem was published in Writing in a Woman's Voice in June of 2022 and is in the current issue of Metro Weekly. Everything perfect. I've been obsessed lately with teapots, the silvered kind, served by waitresses in nice restaurants, handle, lid, and a knob. You sit across from a woman, white cloth, china cups, chat of things lesbians talk about, your day and the cat, things weighed more easily before COVID's plague and the war in Ukraine, counts of dead bodies wearing a mask, like that trip to Italy along the Amalfi Coast, aquamarine waters lapping sides of the boat, how a friend met a woman, they'd had an affair. And the white linen napkins and the crystal chandeliers, purple lilacs and pink roses blend in with the tea. And then the waitress comes to pour more time. And for that moment, you are suspended in sun-drenched space, eucalyptus leaves fragrancing the room, and no clock ticks on the brocade wall, only a mirror that scallops the Venetian canals, manicured plantings imagining circular roads, everything ordered, nothing out of place. How everything is perfect, and then it is not. Pandemics and war intervening to kill and maim, afternoon conversation infused with tea, time silvering moments before taking them away. All right, we want to thank everybody, thank all of today's Los Angeles poets for sharing their words: Jennifer Abod, Dorothy Randall Gray, Bonnilee Kaufman, Carla Sameth, and Ronna Magy. Jennifer, Carla, and I have poems published in OutWrite editions, part 1 and 2 of Metro Weekly, last week and this week's editions. Marlena is posting the links for that in the chat. And now we have a moment for comments and questions. So let's see, Marlena, are there any questions in the chat or any comments that you'd like to share with us? And
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Please go ahead.
I'll share this one from Diane Gurman. She says, the writing I've heard from this panel demonstrating a deep love of language and words is something I don't encounter nearly enough. Even when the subject matter is sad, I feel uplifted and grateful.
Oh, thank you so much, Diana. What a wonderful comment. I wanted to ask women on our panel, do you think you would want more opportunities to write and share lesbian poetry as women and crones who we are intergenerationally? And if so, what do you think about how we might do that? Because I think this festival makes us understand that we're part of an intergenerational group of gays and lesbians and queers. So what do you think about creating more opportunities to write and share lesbian poems and wisdom intergenerationally? And how do we do that? And Marlena, if you could bring up a view of all the people on the panel, that would be great.
So I'll start talking, and hopefully people will put some stuff in the chat. But you know, Audre Lorde was one of the people. She was older than I. You know, she was in her 80s at the time when I met her. I don't know, I can't remember. And she just thought how important it was for people to talk to each other intergenerationally. You know, that it's a way of hiding history, that we all do not, we benefit from each other's experiences. That doesn't happen much at all. And I think that we all enjoy it when it does. But I think that it's not part of the politics necessarily of things. That when we talk about intersectionality, that we necessarily talk about across generation. And I think that that has to be part of the inclusiveness that we are inheriting from the, you know, decades of civil rights work and then Black feminism with Audre Lorde, Edwin Rich, and all those other kind of people. I think we have to really include across age, because if you're lucky enough, you'll get to be my age. And you know, being a lesbian in 1969 or 1950, wow. When I listen to people's stories, they blow my mind, because I came out during the time of the feminist movement in 1970. I was very lucky, but a lot of people do not come out that way. And sometimes even now people feel really alone, feeling very isolated. And I think that intergenerational poetry, especially, which with so few words and so much emotion, can really communicate so much to each other. And I would love to have an intergenerational poetry panel. So we're just putting it out there. But how it happens, maybe next time that OutWrite comes together, there'll be two people, one person, like Ronna, who is an incredible organizer, and some other young person. They somehow have a part one and part two, something, and a conversation, something like that, you know. But OutWrite is a very wonderful opportunity to do this. I know we were all excited to be here, and certainly the poetry that we heard, it didn't disappoint in any way at all. The passion of it, the power of the words, the craft was just wonderful.
Okay. Thanks so much, Jennifer. Carla?
Yeah, I would add that for me, that intergenerational piece is really crucial. I had the opportunity being part of Pride Poets, where we compose poetry on demand on typewriters at Pride, originally before the pandemic in person and later online. But it was really wonderful because the poets involved ranged from very young to older and everything in between. And I found that opportunities where I have to read with people of different ages, it makes such a huge difference in the conversations that happen. And surprisingly, we're able to relate to each other's work, when we are reading and composing together.
Great. So let's follow up on this with Marlena and see what we can arrange for the next time. A question that came up in the chat is, how has your writing changed as you've aged past 60? And another question, wondering how you all manage to write when things feel hopeless, and what are your literary influences? So pick one of those three and give us a response, Dorothy or Bonnilee.
I'd like to speak to the influence part. I mean, I love Toni Morrison, and I love her work, and Mahogany Browne, and all kinds of other poets. And I think one of my biggest influences happens to be nature. I'm influenced by trees, by birds. I'm working on a whole series of tree literature, and what the trees have to say, and how they talk to us, and how they are arbiters and translators of what is going on in the world, what is happening to the earth and the soil and the sky. All of those things are incorporated in tree languages, in what it is that they have to say to us. So yes, I talk to the trees, and I have a poem which I didn't read today called When I Was a Tree. In a past life reading, I was told that I used to be a tree, and that's where I learned how to give. So I'm carrying on that tree tradition and using that as a metaphor for life and living. And just to speak a little bit about the hopeless piece, I don't feel hopeless. I think that there are all kinds of things that would influence us and make us think that we are hopeless, that we have no chance to change anything. I think if we keep on writing, if we keep on staying close to spirit, if we keep on doing what we're put here to do, we can still help to change this world one word at a time.
All right, Bonnilee, do you want to add anything?
No, I just think that was a really, really nice way to kind of conclude our afternoon, because it's just about time, and I do think we have power to change, and words are really powerful, as are the trees, and take the power and put it out there. That's the best that we could really do. I love this opportunity, so thank you so much. I love being in company with all my fellow poets, and we get to come back again because we didn't finish all the questions.
There you go. And I think just to add one more thing to what we've already said is that, you know, you write through those mind states. And my poem Disengage was about what did I do about hopelessness. And yes. So, all right, we want to thank you from our group from Los Angeles. We want to thank you all for joining us at today's reading, The View from Here, Lesbian Poets Over 60 Read Their Work. We hope we've encouraged all of you to continue your poetry writing and stay in the craft and stay writing words.
Yes, right on.
Right on. And thank you so much to Marlena and Malik and all the people who have been helping us from OutWrite, especially our language interpreters, of course. We've loved being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you all so much.